Football is football. Like, we overcomplicate it. We put all these buzzwords in. Your team is getting pumped. You're losing games. It's not working. There's a falsehood in this whole philosophy stuff. It is about winning. Man City embarrassed Liverpool at the Etihad with a 3-0 extremely comfortable win on Super Sunday before we go into the international break. Alright, welcome back to On The Spot. It's the weekend wrap-up time. This is going to be the free one this month for everybody. Usually this is just for subscribers, but this one is going out free to everybody on YouTube and Spotify and everything like that. Let's get straight into it. City, huge statement win over Liverpool at the Etihad. Arsenal dropped some points away at Sunderland, and Spurs and United, in what was the other big game of the weekend, kind of cancel each other out again. And not to mention, there's a few managers flying under the radar, which I'm going to get into, one in particular. So let's fire straight in. Let's go with City and Liverpool. God, rough watch yesterday. Real rough watch yesterday, especially when the fire stick isn't working and it freezes. And by the time you run across to the pub, it is already 2-0 to Man City. So not great at all. Look, let's stay on City. Really well tactically done yesterday. Thought how they played the game was great. I noticed very early on into Haaland, holding it up, laying it into people, trying to break fast with the wing-backs, or the full-backs, should I say. Really providing the width. They played everybody compact in the centre of the park. And it just really worked. Liverpool looked happy to concede that to City, but it really did work for them. And, it wasn't that typical Pep Guardiola, fully dominant type style on the ball. But we know he's changed it, and we know that there with Pep Linders, who is a huge influence on that. I just wanted to have a little look at the teams here, because you look at that City side before this game starts. I think a lot of people would have felt after Liverpool's week that they'd be coming in favourites and would be the team to edge it out, especially just with the makeup of the squad. And if you look across them, it's Donnarumma, obviously a very good goalkeeper. Like, don't get me wrong, but he can definitely be got at. Núñez had a great game, has done well, but you think with a really solid left winger, you could get at him. Ruben Diaz, okay, solid. Garvadal, solid. Nico O'Reilly, again, decent, but young, so you can get at him. Nico Gonzalez has a good day yesterday, but you feel like you can get at him. Bernardo Silva, obviously a great player. Cherki, new to the league, looks like he's coming into it. Foden can be hot and cold. Doku, who has a day like prime Neymar yesterday, but typically inconsistent with no end product. And then we know the big man up top, right? So you go through that City squad. You then look at Liverpool's, you go Marmadashvili, okay, Connor Bradley, again, okay, then you've got Konate and Van Dijk, you've got Robertson, you've got Gravenberch, you've got McAllister, you've got Szoboszlai, you've got Salah, and then Ekitike, who's been great this season, and Wirtz, who had a good kind of game in the week against Real Madrid off the left. So if you look at that too, you'd be expecting Liverpool to have the better of City, especially in the middle of the park, and they obviously don't. They don't at all. And City just, again, as I said, tactically get it absolutely spot on. And fully deserved winners. Absolutely no question about it. Played really well. Will this Man City side be able to win a league title? I don't know. But if you're Arsenal and you're Mikel Arteta, that's the one manager and the one side you don't want off your shoulder come February, March time. And I think Pep knows how to win titles. He knows what to do. If you look at the spine of that team there, you've got Diaz, you've got Garvadal, you've got Haaland, you've got Foden, Donnarumma not at City but elsewhere, that know how to win titles. John Stones, guys like that didn't even feature yesterday for City. So there's enough there that know how to win it alongside the manager, alongside his assistant and Pep Linders, who did it at Liverpool. So if they can just hang on to Arsenal's shoulder and being around the mix after the Christmas period as we get into February, that's the one team you don't want, kind of turning around and looking at. So, it's a big one. It's a big one. And I think the winner of the game yesterday was going to emerge as the one that could peel away with Arsenal from the rest of the league. And that was Man City. From a Liverpool point of view, man, oh man, there's so much I could get into here and rant about. So I'll try and keep it as concise as I possibly can. But Liverpool's set up compact. I didn't mind that. I thought it looked good against Madrid. I was okay with that again being what we did yesterday, because we've been so open in the rest of the league games. So I had no issue with it. It gets 2 wins. It gets us going. It gets the momentum back going in the week, like we've said. But it was real flat. There was no energy. There was no nothing. There is a graphic that will pop up on here when you guys, for those of you that are watching, where City get their first goal from, and they're holding it up in the corner, and if you freeze frame it there and say City are going to score from this, you'd think no chance. They're literally holding it up in their own corner flag and they can't get out, and they managed to just get out, and I just thought Liverpool's energy and press was flat. It's the same 11 again from Tuesday. Now, could maybe a little bit of tired legs in there. I'm not trying to make that as an excuse, because I'm far from wanting to make that as an excuse ever. But whatever it was, it looked flat. It looked no energy. It was just a little bit off. It couldn't get there, and City were able to play out extremely easy, and a lot easier than they probably thought they were going to have it yesterday. It was just poor. It was really poor. I thought physically just looked a bit weak. Again, I've talked about the build of this team, the makeup of this team. Yeah, okay, Van Dijk and Kanate, Szoboszlai can put himself about. Gravenberch is tall, but I don't know, the makeup of this team is not very physical, and it did look a bit physically weak a little bit yesterday, and it's been built to kind of go a more technical route, right, than it has been. I think there's one big thing from Liverpool this season, right? And if you take Doku, who had a hell of a game yesterday, and his goal for the third goal is just absolutely insane. He never literally pulls that off ever. That's what's missing from his game. But if you take someone like him, Liverpool had Luis Diaz doing that in the last few years, and I was a big advocate of not selling Luis Diaz in the summer. I got it, from a business point of view and money and all that. Like, okay, I kind of get it. But you're losing a player that takes people on 1v1. Doku. I watched the highlights of the rest of the games. Estevao at Chelsea. The PSG wide players. Like, people are starting to get back at people 1v1 and not coming inside. And all the Liverpool attackers, Salah, these days, wants it to his feet. Hugo Ekitike, who I would say just from maybe what Arne Slot wants of his 9, getting into feet. Florian Wirtz off the left. Wants it into feet. If Cody Gakpo's out there, wants it into feet. Nobody wants to go behind or get the ball and go 1v1 at people. It's all feet, get it under control and play. And it's really, really, really predictable. And we did this thing last season that it worked, fair enough, we win the league. But it's not working anymore, where the two wide guys play these clipped balls into the back post. And right now they're just feeling hopeless, and they're not coming off if they're even getting into the box. And it's just, when no runs in behind, it's so easy to defend. And it's just poor, and it's really poor. And look, you have to say now, it's a problem. It is a problem. It was a great week. You get your momentum back up and running, you get going, and then it reverted back to what it was before the Villa game. Flat, no runs in behind, nothing. Look, Slot's been changing a lot. And it goes to show he doesn't really know what to do. Isak's obviously on the bench all day yesterday. I know he's been injured and stuff like that, so fair enough. But he doesn't quite know what to do and how to fit everybody in yet. And he's going to have to work out quickly, because Liverpool are in a battle for 3rd to 5th. And we're going to look at the league table at the end of this and see how tight it is. And they're going to be in a hell of a battle for that. So, yeah, that's just where they at. I don't know what else to say on it. That's where Liverpool are at. I'm gonna finish that on there. There's so many things to go. If we move into the league leaders in Arsenal, a little chink in the armour. I put my video up about that, but that can happen in a season. You go to somewhere like the Stadium of Light, where they are flying, they're doing really well, and like, it's not concern. It's just one of those draws you're going to get over the course of 38 games, and we've been conditioned through that Pep and Klopp area of Liverpool and City to win every single game, and a draw is bad. It's reverted back in the last couple of seasons that points away from home aren't going to be an absolutely killer for you. And that's one of those for Arsenal. So, look, they looked a little blunt at times, but they find their way. They get themselves 2-1 in the lead, and then it is a late equaliser, obviously. They just can't quite hold out. They concede 2 goals, which isn't usual for them. But they'll chalk it off to, look, that's fine. We're going to get one of those at some point in the season. Let's go on the break and let's come back to it. So, not concerned from them. By the way, Sunderland deserve a huge amount of credit. They're the best promoted side that's come up in the last 2 seasons. They just look like they've got confidence. They can mix it. Again, as always, winning games helps. You've got the Stadium of Light that helps. But they're the best side that's coming up in a couple of years, and far and away, not going to be in any sort of trouble at all at the bottom of the table this season. So, fair play to Sunderland. Well done. Been really, really impressive. They play without fear. They get after it. They're all right. They understand the challenge, and they go for it. So, good for them. 12:30, we had Spurs and United. I predicted United to win this 2-1, and it was just indicative of where these two teams are. I thought it was very, very mad that whoever won this game would have gone second before the 3 p.m. games kicked off. Spurs, to me, feel really blunt, although they have, in fact, actually scored 19 goals this season. But when they go forwards, I don't feel like they're going to score a lot of time, to be quite honest with you. I've talked about the likes of Kudus, that Kolo Muani plays. I thought he was quite poor yesterday. Richarlison and stuff, like, all good, decent Premier League players, but none giving you that real kind of spark. And on the flip side, United, I do feel like they have that now in Mbeumo and Cunha. There's a lot of talk about Sesko, but Bruno gets up there to help out. Ahmad gets forward from the wing-back position. I just felt like United would have too much for them going forwards, and they go one up with Mbeumo, and then it's a bit of a mad one from Spurs to get the 2 goals and go 2-1 up, and it's a good finish from Richarlison, and he goes crazy with the celebrations. He's crying and that, probably a little bit over the top from him. And then De Ligt goes and gets that header. I have no idea what the goalkeeper's doing. Vicario, he's literally in his goal when he grabs it and palms it out. He's not great at times. And, someone said to me before, he kind of reminds me of De Gea at the beginning of his career. He's just quite kind of tall and skinny and makes those kind of errors. But I don't know. We're going to see a high level from Vicario. I do think he could do a lot better from that. But, United just, can score goals but can't not concede them. But I think they're just working on the balance between attack and defence. And unfortunately, you have to say, it looks like they probably are going to get there. And for Spurs, they were booed off at half-time. I don't know, it's kind of that grass is always greener. I did put that on Threads and on Twitter. And it's like, if they won yesterday, they would have gone to second, and the fans are booing them in that half-time. Like, I don't know, what do you want? It feels like you're constantly thinking there's something better on the other end of it, Spurs fans. And I really don't know what that is. I think Thomas Frank's doing an alright job. I agree it's maybe not the best to watch, but that's kind of how he plays. That's how he played at Brentford. That's kind of you knew what you were getting. So, yeah, for me, classic Spurs, classic United from what we've seen in the last few years. But I think United will obviously feel like they've got to win with that last-minute equaliser, and Spurs will kind of feel like they've lost it. But yeah, we'll go from there. Look, one manager who I think is under fire, if we look at the rest of the weekend games, and it's the result at Brentford. Brentford 3, Newcastle 1. I think Eddie Howe is massively going under the radar, should I say, not over the radar. He can't get his team to play 3 games in a week with European football. This is his second season of asking to do it. People can say, we've had injuries and we've had Isaac, the whole situation and all that, blah, 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 blah. And okay, like every team has some form of thing that they can point to and say, yeah. But for me, I think Eddie Howe has got Newcastle to the point, and I think he still could this season, of getting them back into the Champions League. Is he the man to make the next step? Is he the man to be good in the Champions League and be good in the Premier League and start to move up the level and compete? And look, it's very, very difficult to do, to go up there with City and Arsenal and Liverpool, who have been the 3 up there in the last few years. It's not like it's an easy feat. I'm not saying that. But he does struggle to be able to get his team to play 3 games in a week and find the balance of the rotation and everything. And his second time out at it, as I said, and he's not quite learning from it, and they're really, really, really struggling away from home. If we do have a look at that, get this pop-up closed. Like, their away form is, they're 15th in the league. They've taken 3 points away from home. I mean, they've only taken 9 from home, right? But they've really, really struggled. They haven't won a single game away from home. They've drawn 3 and lost 3. And I just think he's going under the radar a little bit. I think he gets away with it because he's English and they like him and they talk about him being the kind of England manager. And like, I can see all that. And again, he does a good job at what he does, but I just don't think he can take them to the next level is what's needed. And if Newcastle want to have that ambition to do it, I'm never asking for a manager to be sacked or let go, don't get me wrong. But is he the man to do it? I'll ask you that, Newcastle fans. Is he the man to do it? If you're a Newcastle fan or just anyone, drop a comment and let me know if you guys think that. But yeah, I just think we're starting to see his kind of limitations, to be quite honest with you. If we quickly just run through the rest of the results in the Prem, Everton 2, Fulham 0. Big result there for Everton. We'll have a quick look at the league table in a minute where that puts Fulham. West Ham, huge kind of 6-pointer win there, 3-2 against Burnley in the relegation zone. Chelsea go ahead and they beat Wolves comfortably 3-0 on Saturday night. Wolves are as good as gone for me. Big result for Aston Villa, 4-0 against Bournemouth. Semenyo misses the penalty at 2-0, was not good for my fantasy team. That's a poor result for Bournemouth and a great one for Villa to bounce into the break. Palace 0, Brighton 0. Won't lie, it's the only game I haven't watched the highlights of as of yet, since there's no goals in there. Big win for Forest. Sean Dyche will have big red circles around these games. They're all going to be down at the bottom of the league with Nottingham Forest, and he'll be looking at that and be like, that's the one we're ready for, that's the one we're peaked for, and we beat everyone else around us, and we see what we can get elsewhere, but we focus on those guys, and it's another one from there. And as we know, unfortunately, City wrapped the weekend up in the Premier League with a 3-0 win. So if we look at the table, Arsenal sitting top dogs 26, City on 22. We've had to talk about the title race. Arteta won't want Pep being on his shoulder, and Pep will want to try and keep as close to Arsenal as he can coming into February, right? Chelsea then unbelievably sitting third on 20 points. And it's just super tight. Chelsea third on 20 points, all the way down to Everton, who are in 13th on 15 points. So 5 points separate third and 13th. Crazy. And I was having this chat on the group chat with the boys yesterday. Look at the rest of that league there. Like, Arsenal and City could start to just give themselves a gap, but Chelsea, okay, inconsistent, but still a good level. Sunderland have shown themselves to be of a good level. It's going to be a tough place to go, Stadium of Light. Spurs are Spurs, and they're going to be tough. Villa under Emery are good. United are looking like they're better under Amorim, and it's the name of Man United anyway. Liverpool are the defending champions in 8th. Bournemouth 9th under Areola, tough to go. Palace 10th with Glasner. We know they're hard to play against. Brighton have been always solid to play against in the last few years. Brentford aren't going anywhere with the set piece and throw-ins and everything like that. And then Everton, and under David Moyes kind of knows how to win. And below that, you have Newcastle, who you would expect to get themselves up into that mix. And then even Fulham, who you wouldn't say is an easy away game, before you then kind of move down into Leeds, Burnley, West Ham, Forest, and Wolves. It's like just the league is... The league's so good. It's so strong. It's really good. I need to get the boys in for a little chat about that once this kind of whole shed is done and dusted over the next week or so, and just talk about the strength of it. And we mentioned it a lot on other podcasts, but the Premier League week in, week out is becoming really, really difficult, and that is also making it hard for the top teams in Europe and the teams in the Europa League and all that as well, because you're coming up every single week and you're playing against anyone can really take any points off of anybody, and that's what you want to see from the league. And the top two, I think, will eventually start to get away from it. If not, certainly Arsenal. They're still heads, and they're still above a City for me, and are more settled and have the manager and have the squad and have the team and have just added to it. Whereas it's all new for City, and Pep's building something new and different before he calls it quits. So hell of a league, strong league. So very, very interesting. Let's quickly just wrap everything up with Scotland. Falkirk and Livingston, the 3 p.m. game on Saturday, it's 1-1. It's a last-minute equaliser from Livingston, and Falkirk will feel a bit hard done to by that, because that would have been a great result for them. They've been absolutely flying. Hibs with a really good 3-0 result away at St Mirren, who probably were flying after beating Motherwell and getting through to the final of the Premier Sports Cup. But that's a really good result for Hibs, because they've been getting too many draws, and especially in games like that, and St Mirren aren't an easy team to play, so that's huge to them. The league leaders, Hearts, dropped points at Tynecastle. I did think that would be a tough one. I said that they would win 3-1, but look, Dundee United have been good. You're not going to win every single game, Hearts. You've got to just, all right, take your medicine. It's a draw. We haven't lost. You're still unbeaten. Move into the break and we come back from it, right? And we'll have a little look at the table in a second and go over it. Danny Röhl is on a roll at Rangers. It's a 3-0 win at Dundee, and you can say, well, yeah, Rangers are supposed to do that, but they've not been doing that in the last 2 seasons, and Danny Röhl's coming in. He's getting them going domestically. Okay, they've been a bit poor, in Europe, but if I'm him, I'm focusing on the league as the most important thing this season and getting some consistency. Aberdeen and Motherwell, 1 apiece, and Celtic quite comfortably beat Kilmarnock, who are just on an absolute slide since that loss to Hearts, which we'll look at there. It's another win for Martin O'Neill, and what is probably going to be his last game there at Celtic before they get someone in full time, although he's been absolutely brilliant. So if we do take a quick look at the league table, as I said, Hearts undefeated. They're top on 30 points. Celtic are now 7 behind them, but Celtic do have a game in hand, and this is where Hearts are going to have to learn how to deal with it when you drop points and Celtic pull a little closer to you. Can you pull away from them again? Especially if you play before them or you play after them, you're going to have to match the result if you play after them. And it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see how McInnes and Hearts can handle this, because it's not an easy thing to do. Celtic have been there and done it hundreds and hundreds of times. They've done it, what are Celtic on, like 6, 7, 8 in a row or something right now. Like, they know what they're doing there, right? And Martin O'Neill steadied the ship, and we'll see who they bring in. But they're looking a lot better there. So that's the interesting part. Hibs on 3rd and 18 points, tied with Rangers, who all of a sudden are starting to creep themselves back up there. It's 3 wins in a row in the league, getting that form going, getting that consistency going. They look a lot better going forwards, don't they, under the Danny Röhl? They do look a lot better, and fair play to him so far. He needs to keep it going, right? He can't just stop now. He needs to keep that going. But he's done everything that he needs to do. As we said, Falkirk, being good on 16, then it's Motherwell, Dundee United, as you can see here. But again, Kilmarnock in 10th, 5 losses in a row, real bad slide, but they do sit on 10 points, so they're only, 6 points off of Falkirk in 5th, 8 points off of Hibs in 3rd. The league's starting to just all of a sudden that gap starting to open up in certain spots, certainly kind of between 1 to 4 and kind of the 10th bottom half of the league. The gap starting to open up there with Dundee and Livingston there at the bottom. So look, drop in the comments if you think Hearts are going to be able to keep the momentum going there. Overall, both leagues are looking really interesting. We've got a couple of title races on the go. I do think, indeed, we're always going to have it, though, really, weren't we? But it's just interesting to go week from week to see how everything is. So, look, that's us on the international break now. This video is usually always just for subscribers only. Subscribers, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys subscribing to my group page. So if you're interested in getting this type of stuff, it will expand. This kind of whole area is almost done getting set up and everything like that. It will get expanded to what I'm going to do in these videos. Then there's a 30-day free trial. You can click on the link in the description. If you want to sign up to YouTube, subscribe and like, please, trying to grow this and get this going now with On The Spot. And you can look at my socials, TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff for just kind of short clips from these types of videos and kind of immediate reactions to games at the weekend. So, it's Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone has a good start to the week. And as always, until the next one, have a good one. Peace.